false. So in the chat, I want you guys to type out what the Boolean value of B is going to be equal to. What is the value of true and false going to evaluate to? Just quickly type in the chat for me. So what is the value of true and false? So if you guys could please type in your answers in the chat. Let's check what the responses are. Okay. Okay, so remember, if you guys didn't see the problem is true and false evaluates to what? Okay, so I'm getting an overwhelming number of falses. Okay, perfect. False is the answer, okay? So let me share my screen again. Okay. Okay, so yes, the correct answer would be true and false, because if we remember correctly, true and false, you're asking the Python to choose between a true statement and a false statement, and it will always choose true. So true is the correct answer. And yeah, I know you guys have been asking for the code specifically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start a system where I'm going to save this code for you guys. I'm going to put it in the announcements tab. Similarly, these boards, I know you guys find this very helpful. So I will send you guys these boards. Okay, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you guys for your own reference. Okay, so back to this problem. Now we have C, right? Okay, I want you guys to evaluate C for me. What is C going to evaluate to? Okay. So remember, we use order of operations. Just like we in arithmetic, we have like PEMDAS or I don't know what you guys use for order of operations. But remember that the parentheses inside has to be evaluated first, and then the parentheses on the outside gets evaluated. So we evaluate whatever's inside this parenthesis, and then we take whatever this evaluates to and evaluate this against this true statement over here. So what is the result of what is C going to be equal to? What Boolean is C going to evaluate to? Okay, I'm gonna give you guys some time. Let me check the chat. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm getting an overwhelming number of falses. Okay. Okay, let's check if that's the right answer. So if we look into here, right? Let's take this one step at a time. Let's first evaluate what's inside the parentheses, and then let's evaluate what's outside of it, or the result of this compared to true. So let's put this in parentheses. Again, let's rewrite our statement, but this time let's start with evaluating true and false, whatever's in this parentheses. So the result of true and false is false. Okay? And so we're saying true and false, which is false, is being compared to using the and comparator, true. And from what we know, false and true evaluates to false. So yeah, that is the correct answer. Good job. Okay. Now I want you guys to evaluate. So this is just a quick review of the arithmetic operators. It's very basic. I just want to make sure you guys are on the same level. So what does F evaluate to? This is not a Boolean. I just want you guys to evaluate what's the result of this expression. So what does this evaluate to? Okay. Scroll down. Are you guys not able to see? I'm keeping it up here on purpose because I don't want to show you guys the next problem. So I think you guys can see properly. It's just I'm asking you to do this problem. This is F is what I'm trying to ask you to do. So I'm seeing an overwhelming number of 8, but I see some 6 and I see 11. So let me just clear some misconceptions if you guys have any. So let's see what the correct answer is. I haven't solved this one myself. So if we see the result of this, 2, this doesn't represent 2 times 3, remember? Double star represents 2 to the power 3. It's exponentiation. So this is essentially 2 to the power 3, which is 8. Okay, okay, and we have 4, right? We have 4. Um, this is modulus. This is not division. Remember? So since this is modulus, it just takes the remainder of 4 and 2. And remember, 2 goes equally into 4 2 times. So this doesn't have a remainder. So I think I did this intentionally for as a trick question. Remember, this is not a division sign. This is a modulus sign or modulo. And this just takes the remainder of 4 and 2, which is 0. Okay, so this evaluates to 8. All right, so now I want you guys to do G. What does G evaluate to? Okay, this is a bit more tricky because it takes into consideration concepts of both arithmetic and Boolean logic. So I just want to see how well you guys fare. If you don't understand it first, that's completely okay. I'll walk you through it. I should have done this earlier with you guys because this is a very complicated subject matter for beginners. So, okay, what are we getting? Getting false, okay? Okay. So I'm getting some falses, right? Let's check. Does everybody say false, or do we get any trues? No. So it's all false. Okay. Okay. So that means, yeah, we have 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 equals to 3. 11 does not equal to 5, so that would be a false statement. And so we're comparing this with a true statement. So false and true is going to be false. Okay, now a bit more of a tricky example for you guys. Okay, not D. Okay, but actually A. Okay, this is going to be a long one. Actually, this is going to be very, very long. Okay, you guys do A and just tell me what this evaluates to. Okay, so I am getting mostly trues, but I am seeing one false. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be consensus this time. I do see mostly trues, like 90% true, but I also see some Fs. So let me just wait for everybody to answer, just to make sure we're all done. Okay, yeah. If you didn't get it right the first time, that's perfectly fine. Let me explain to you guys why this evaluates to. What was the answer? This was true. Okay. Okay, so let's break this down. We have a very, very long thing here. Okay. Did I even write this right? Okay. So here's what's happening. Okay. Essentially, order of operations dictates we have to evaluate what's inside this first because there's more things inside this large parentheses. So for the sake of simplicity, let's first focus on what's going on here. True or false evaluates to true, right? Okay, so what this evaluates to true, or, and now let's evaluate what's going on here within this big parentheses. We have the result of false or false being false, and let's carry this down again, and true. So we look over here again. Let's carry down the true, or, and then this is false and true. So if it's false and true, it has to be false. Okay. Put this in a giant parentheses, and we have to compare that to a true and false is false. And we carry down the or from here. So this is essentially what we have left. Okay. Now order operations tells us let's first evaluate what's in here, then focus on this one. Okay. So we have a false or, and this will be true or false is true. So we have false or true to be true. Or am I making an error? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That should be true, right? Okay. So the answer is true. Does anybody have any questions on how I derived that before I move on? Just want to make sure we're all comfortable with Boolean logic. Okay? All right? Okay, then I can proceed. I mean, my auto admit should be working. If it's not, then
Somebody's waiting to be joined.
I mean if they are joining, then it should have already come by now. I think they've already joined by now, or
Oh,
not. Yeah, they probably should have joined because the auto admit should have worked. Um, yeah, they're probably already in.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, could you mute your mic, please, if you don't have any further questions? Okay, so I have an important concept to teach you guys. Okay, so that we're gonna move on to something. So now that we're all comfortable with arithmetic and Boolean logic, we have this new, really essential part of Python. Okay, this is called, it's broadly referred to as a conditional if-else statement. Okay, now let me explain what this is. Let me just zoom out. Zoom. Okay, there we go. All right, let me just make sure. Okay, so what you might be asking, what is a conditional if statement? Okay, so we're taking into everything we learned. We remember we have logic. We're taking into consideration arithmetic, operators, everything. Okay, so essentially, let's break down the structure of an if-else statement. We have this. Essentially, what the if-else statement is. So we have a condition, right? If this condition is satisfied, if this condition evaluates to true, if we have a condition, right? It could be a numerical condition. It could be something like 2 is greater than 3, or some variable is not equal to 5, or something like that, right? But we have some condition that involves the use of some sort of operator, okay? And this condition will evaluate to true or false, okay? But if this condition evaluates to true, then this first line of code is run. If the condition evaluates to false, then this second line of code is run. It seems very self-explanatory, right? If 2 is greater than 3, so let's just say that we have something like 2 is greater than 3. If this statement is true, okay, if it's true, then do this action A, okay? If it's not greater than 2, so if this conditional evaluates to false, then we have to do action B. Let me rewrite this so it looks neater. Okay, we have a true and we have a false evaluation. So essentially, the if-else statement takes a conditional and it says, hey, is this conditional a true statement or a false statement? And it says, if it's a true statement, execute this first line of code. If the condition is met, run this code. If the condition is not met, when we say the condition is met, it's essentially saying, is the condition true? Okay? If we're saying the condition is not met, that means it's a false statement. Okay? So a condition, again, just to review, is something, some variable A being compared to some variable B. Not necessarily a variable, it could be anything. So some data type A is being compared to data type B, and if this data type evaluates to true, then this first line is run. If this data type is, if this the condition is false, then evaluates to this second line of code. Okay, so let's look into an example of. Let's look into a quick little example. So let's just assume this is like our little Python code. It's just the lines of code. Okay, let's assume I have defined a variable called var, and it stores number 1. Okay, and so we're saying to the if else statement, and this is exactly how it's written syntax wise. I chose to keep it that way. So if we have if, and in parentheses, if var, that means the variable here defined here, if var is greater than 2, colon refers to uh, 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 colon is just basically creating the if statement. If this variable is greater than 2, and so you have to include a space before defining what you want the condition to do if it's evaluated to be true. Python is very sensitive to spaces. That's why we must always put a space after the if statement. So this if statement has to be defined here, and then a one tab space has to be put here, and then write your line of code. So again, this statement is printed if this condition evaluates to true, and this statement is printed if this condition evaluates to false. Okay? Is var greater than 2? Well, we know var to be 1, so we just plug in 1 for var. And so is 1 greater than 2? That evaluates to false. So instead of this line being printed, this line gets printed. And so it says condition not satisfied. Print that to the statement. And so you'll get an output looking like this, okay? Very basic example. Okay. So that's essentially what an if statement is, and I'm going to show you guys a really cool. Keep that in mind because I want to show you guys a really neat example, okay? So let's define a new comment. If else statements. Okay. So let's just say I have a variable called voting age, right? Let's define my voting age, okay? Currently I'm 16, but you can put in whatever age you want, okay? Let's just practice using our if else statement syntax. So we start with an if, then we put whatever our condition is in parentheses. So let this be our condition, right? But in our case, we want to, let's just say the goal of our if else statement is to evaluate if I am of voting age or not. Okay, so I think the voting age is 21. So let's try to incorporate that in our if else statement. Let's say if our voting age is greater than or equal to, remember we're using our operator to compare A to B. In this case, A is our voting age and B is, well, we're trying to compare it to 21 because we want to be greater than 21 because only people 21 or older can vote in the United States, all right? And then we have our colon. That essentially defines there. And as you can see, if you look closely right over here, this little arrow pops up. Sorry, right here. Okay. That hello.
Yeah.
Can you mute your mic if you have questions? Unless you have a question, could you mute your mic? All right. Cool. So yeah, try not to interrupt while I'm trying to teach. Okay. So let's just say, and so do you know see how automatically Python gives a space between here? Because it already knows that we're doing an if statement. We're trying to create an if statement. It already creates a space here. So you don't need to create that extra space. Python automatically does it for you when you click enter to create a new line. All right. So let's say if our voting age is greater than or equal to 21, then let's just say let us print to the console you are eligible to vote. Okay. Right. And so let's create this else statement because else, remember, else is the action will be held in else if it evaluates to a false statement. If we're not of age 16, then let it be printed to the console. You are not eligible to vote. Okay. So now let's try to predict the outcome of our if-else statement. Okay.
Bro, he doesn't. His mic is muted on the Discord call.
Hello.
Who, me?
Yeah. Could you mute your mic?
What do you mean?
Like, could you mute yourself? I'm trying to teach. Okay. Yes, please
I
try.
have a question.
Sure. I mean, oh yeah, I was gonna have a Q&A session at the very end, but yeah, if you could
So my
hold.
question.
Oh, I was.
Hello. Oh yeah, what's your question?
Am I muted now?
You're still not muted. Do you not know how to mute? You just go down here and click mute. Turn off microphone right here. Okay. Okay, cool. I think I'll just keep talking, I
I
guess.
have a question.
Bro, I was.
Could you wait until the end to tell me your question? Is that okay? Yeah, because I just want to continue teaching, and then if you can just write down your question somewhere, I'll definitely get back to you. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, just again, make sure. Hey, whoever's doing that, could they please mute? Okay. Okay, so I think I'll just keep teaching, I guess, whatever. So yeah, so let's try to predict the outcome of this statement, right? Since we've already defined our variable to be 16, right? And if we're trying to predict our statement ahead of time, right? Voting age equals to 16, just plug it in here. So 16 is greater than or equal to 21.
Am I muted?
I'm not Arjun. Yeah,
Yeah, please.
yeah, I don't know who's doing that, man. Like, I'm trying to teach. Okay.
Oh my.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry for the delay, class. I'm super sorry. If they try talking again, I'm just not gonna respond, I guess. Hopefully you can just bear with it. So again, yeah, if we try to plug it in, so 16 is not greater than or equal to 21. So since this this statement it will be evaluated if its statement is true, and this statement will be printed if the condition is false. So since 16 is not greater than or equal to 21, which is a false statement, right? 16 greater than or equal to 21 is a false statement. This line of code will be run. So essentially, the computer is saying, since 16 is not greater than or equal to 21, the statement that is the opposite of the true statement will run. So we're not eligible to vote. So let's see if this is the right prediction. Okay, so now it correctly predicts that we are not eligible to vote. All right. So now there's also this really handy little function. It's called input. Okay. So instead of defining the variable beforehand, you can actually take a user input and you can get user input for your variable. So instead of setting our voting age to 16, let's just say that we want to set it to the input, right? As you can see, it turns purple, which means that Python recognizes it as a valid function. Let's take this input and let's just say, what is your voting age? And so this essentially means that the computer is going to prompt me this question: what is your voting age? And it's going to ask me for a response. Whatever the response I type into this input will be stored in the variable. All right. So just to test out this cool little thing, let's just let's do that. Let's run the statement. It's asking me what's my voting age, and you see this little flickering little box over here. So it's really cool. It'll ask me what my voting age is, and so I'll just say my voting age is. Sorry, not voting age. My age in general. Let's try that again. What are my ages? I'm 16 years old. And so by clicking enter, I am basically the variable is going to store the result of my answer. So my answer is 16, it'll store that number in the variable voting age. Okay. Why did it say I'm eligible to vote? That shouldn't happen. What? Let me try that again. What is my age?
Wait, what happened?
It's saying that it's running. That's so weird. Because right, if the statement is true, it'll evaluate to you are eligible to vote, right? But since 16 is not greater than or equal to 21, it should be saying you are not eligible to vote. That's weird because I also defined the variable voting age to 16 and it worked like normal. Apparently it's not working. Let's try that again. It's so weird. Okay.
Can you try a
Let's-
number greater than 21?
Yeah, let's try that actually. Why not? Let's go ahead. See if that works. Okay, 23, enter. Okay, so apparently it's not working like it should. So if I put 11 years old, yeah, I don't know why it's not working. That's crazy. But
Maybe instead of putting greater than equal to, just put greater than
Yeah.
20. So
yeah,
then,
no, but here's the thing that probably won't make a difference because it's gonna work. It's gonna do the same exact thing. So if I do 12, yeah, it's not working for some reason. But yeah, I mean I don't have that much time to go find out why I'm doing it wrong. But guys, just note that whatever the voting age, doing input, the input function just takes the result of what you're the result of this, and it'll print it if this conditional evaluates to true. So essentially, what it should have done is, if I put 16, it would have stored 16 as the voting age, and then since 16 is not greater than or equal to 21, it would have printed out you are not eligible to vote. Okay.
I think I get it. I think I get why it's wrong.
Why
Like-
so?
I'm thinking that that you have to remove those parentheses in that if statement line and put a space by and then remove that one. And if you run it,
Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's still not working. Python 3, you have to put parentheses, or I think you have to put parentheses around the conditional.
Oh.
At least that's what I remember. So yeah, ignore that. Just keep in mind whatever I said. Okay. So
Okay.
oh, you know what's going on? I think this might be it.
Oh,
Float the input. That
quick
might work.
question. So, like, do you have to put print in the front of each sentence?
Yeah. Otherwise, it won't be printed into the console.
Oh,
So yeah. So print essentially just takes whatever it gets inputted in the print statement and puts it on the console for you to see. So let's see if this works. This might work. There we go. Okay, so what I did was this. Okay, I think I converted it into a float, and I think that helped. Okay, so float essentially converts it into a number with decimals, and so it recognizes the decimal point. So for any number like 16, for example, it does have a decimal point, right? It's just after the 16. So 1/6, then a decimal point. I think that's the only way it inputs. So I also have another unique concept to teach you guys. So there's this Boolean operator called in. Okay, there's something called in.
Int.
No, it's not int. Int is JavaScript. Okay, could you please mute yourself actually?
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have, let's just say vals. Okay, we have a variable called vals. And remember how we talked about lists? So list manipulation. So let's just say let's create a list called, so this is it. Okay. You can filter through the list by essentially saying and you can store the result of this. So this is also another cool Boolean data type manipulation. So you can define a variable called a is in vowels. So what this essentially does is it's asking it's asking Python, is the character is the string is is this string in the list vowels? If it's in this list vowels, then it'll this a the it'll evaluate to true. Otherwise, it'll evaluate to false. So let's try to print the statement just to prove my point. Let me put this in quotes. Sorry, comment. Let me comment this so it doesn't run to the compiler. And let's check what the result of this is. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this evaluates the true, as you can see. So this in operator is very cool because it can filter through a list, and if an item is contained in the list, then you can print, and it'll create a Boolean value that'll be associated with this variable. Okay, and so this in operator will be very useful in for and while loops, which I will get to in the next upcoming units. So yeah, let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, okay. So remember how I showed you guys this if-else statement, right? I also forgot to tell you that there not only do we have if and else. So um, here I'll show you. Okay. So let's just say that my age. Let's create a new if-else statement. All right. Let's say that my age, or let's just say luggage weight. Let's create a new variable called luggage weight. And if I also haven't made this clear yet, Python doesn't like variables to have spaces. Okay, it does not like spaced variables at all. It'll create an error. That's because when you space it out, Python will treat these two as two different variables. And so when you assign these two variables with one Boolean or one data type, then it's going to run an error code because it doesn't recognize that as a valid. If you wanna kind of have like two words in a variable, you can do a dot or you can do a underscore. So you can do this luggage weight, or you can do luggage dot weight. These are very valid. Also, Python is very sensitive to uppercases, so don't do luggage weight. This will not work. Good good programmers usually have their variables in lower cases, and to separate variables that have multiple words in them, they'll do a underscore or a dot, preferably underscore though. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you guys got that. Okay, so let's just say our luggage weight is 50. So this is like our luggage weight in pounds. Okay, and let's just say that so a certain airline company, right? They charge a particular fare at certain intervals of weights, and I'll tell you what I mean. Let's just say if our luggage, okay, if luggage weight, if the luggage weight is less than or equal to 10, okay? If it's less than or equal to 10, let's just say that the airline company will say that you don't need a fare. No fare needed. You are free to go. Right? Now, if what if we also have another fare that we give to passengers if they have anywhere between 11 and 20 and 21 and 30 pounds. So for that for more than two cases, instead of remember how we have true and false, right? So if it evaluates to true, it'll print one thing, and then if it doesn't evaluate to true or false, it'll evaluate to another statement. Just like that, we can do multiple cases. Okay, multiple cases just means that if this is one case essentially. This is one case. Okay, the first case is just that luggage weight is less than or equal to 10. Let's say that we have a second case, and we're going to do something called elif. Okay, elif is just short for else if. And let's say we have a second case. Let's say luggage is say it's greater than 10 pounds and luggage is less than or equal to 20 pounds. So we're essentially saying that the second case is the luggage has to be between the weight of the luggage has to be between 10 pounds and 20 pounds. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for calling that out. Thank you so much. Yeah. I forgot to. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So again, right. So yes. Thank you for correcting me. We have. So let's just say a second case scenario is that the weight of the luggage is between 10 and 20 pounds. If that is the case, if this evaluates to true, then let's say they have to charge they're given a fare of $10 fare required. Okay. Now let's just. Oh my goodness, what was that?
Oh, that was nothing. I was just trying to ask Twistin.
Could you please say that till the end? We have a
Yeah.
Q&A in 10 minutes. Okay, this is the last thing
We
I'll be
do?
teaching you guys.
Okay.
Okay, luggage weight, right? Let's just say that it's between 20 and 30 pounds. How we represent that is that we say luggage weight is greater than 20 pounds and luggage weight is less than or equal to 30. And so we can go on and on and on with this. I think I'll just stop here because I want to answer any questions that we may have. So let's say this is our third case. So let's just say if the luggage weight is between $20 and $30, we want to charge yet another fare. This time we want to say the fare is there's a $30 fare. And let's just say finally else. Else just means that if it's not less than 10 pounds, if it's not between 20 and 30 pounds, if it's not between 10 and 20 pounds, if it's not between 20 and 30 pounds, that means if essentially if the weight is between 31 and 50 pounds. Okay, so this is the last case scenario. Is that $50 fare required? So let me just break this down really quickly, okay? So instead of having just a true or false case, we have multiple cases here. So basically this if statement checks the weight of the luggage. So let's just say I had a luggage weight of 35 pounds. Okay, so it first checks if the weight of the luggage is 10 pounds. Since it's not 10 pounds, it'll just go to the next statement and looks at and sees if this is correct. Is the weight of the luggage between 10 and 20 pounds? It's not, right? So we move on to the next statement and see if that's true. Okay, it's not between 20 and 30 pounds. So we check to the next statement. Since this is the last statement, and because all of these previous statements evaluated to false, this is the only statement that prints. It's the only statement that evaluates to false. So we say a $50 fare is required. So we learned about if statements and how we can use elif to present multiple cases in an if and else statement. So just quickly recap, if else statement checks multiple cases. Cases are just scenarios that check the variable of interest. So luggage weight is our variable of interest, and we've defined it to have a 35-pound weight. Now the if-else statement checks all of these different conditions and sees which one evaluates to true. Since this is the